So I'll introduce myself. I am Diana Rose. I am the music director here at Beit Aleph Meditative Synagogue, have been for over 11 years now. And I am also a mental health counselor and a board-certified music therapist. So for me, having the talk tonight about music is a no-brainer. Actually, it's a lot about the brain, but I'll get to that in a minute. Music is the language of spirit. It opens the secret of life, bringing peace, abolishing strife. Khalil Gibran. Music is a higher revelation than all wisdom and philosophy. It is the electrical soil in which the spirit lives, thinks, and invents. Ludwig van Beethoven. After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music. Aldous Huxley, author of A Brave New World. Music brings us near to the infinite. Thomas Carlyle, British philosopher. Music is the movement of sound to reach the soul for the education of its virtue. I want to say that one more time. Music is the movement of sound to reach the soul for the education of its virtue. That was Plato. The beginnings of music are related to the beginnings of humankind and civilization. Music has been used for rituals, religious purposes, in ancient time, often as a way with communing and communicating with spirits on or in other dimensions. Music was also used as a vehicle to enter altered states of consciousness. And when you're in an altered state of consciousness, you experience changes in thinking, emotions, and even the perception of time. And music was used as its own language to communicate to others within a tribe or village, or to other neighboring tribes or villages, to communicate a warning, or to simply connect with the village nearby. Music was used as parts of rites of passage from conception to transition. Each tribal group had and have their own form of music, not only through voice, but archaeologists have found remnants of instruments going back 60 to 70,000 years. Early humans made drums of hollowed out logs and animal skin. They made primitive flutes made of animal bones, stones, and wood that they would carve out and make hollow and then drill holes. If you go to the Smithsonian's Institute website, they have a whole subsection of music and spirituality. The main page has this quote: "Music and spirituality are integratedly related, with spirituality often being the inspiration for the creation of music, and music so often creating the desired atmosphere for a spiritual occasion." There's that symbiotic relationship again, that sphere, that loop. Spirituality often being inspired for the creation of music, right? If you're in a spiritual altered state, you get inspiration to write music. And music so often creating the desired atmosphere for a spiritual occasion. You find the power of music and sound in a variety of spiritual paths. In Hindu mythology, Nod Brahma is the first ever sound which pervades the entire universe, meaning the whole universe was created by sound. And what is sound? Vibration. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, Genesis starts with, in the beginning, or as we like to think of it, in a beginning, was the Word. What does that mean? The Word. Don't we usually read words? I don't know who was around to read the Word. Maybe the Word is something to be heard. Well, who was there to hear it? Was the Word simply another name for sound? Vibration. In a beginning, there was vibration. We are all made up of vibrations, so it makes sense that in the beginning was vibration, which eventually became form. In the Islamic view of the creation of the universe, sacred words that are sounded link the material world to the immaterial realm of God. In the process of forging this connection, sacred sound creates sacred space. In Tibetan Buddhism, sound energy is a sacred force, and creating sound, often through chanting, is a vital part of spiritual practice. The original people of the Americas used drums, bells, rattles, and chant in a wide variety of rituals to share oral history, induce trance-like states for healing, and engage in the rites of passage throughout the lifespan. In fact, many religions engage in the repetition of phrases or chanting to create this spiritual experience, inducing altered states of consciousness. And just as a side note, mark your calendars, November 3rd, we will be doing a chant Shabbat. We're all made up of frequencies. When we hear music through our ears, vibrations in the air move the membranes in our ears, and our brain interprets those oscillations as sound. We feel the sound as well in our bones and in our bodies. Even people who are profoundly deaf hear through their bodies. Music, sound, and rhythm impact us before we're even born. Hearing is the only one of the 5 senses to be fully formed before we are born. What is the first sound we hear? Our mother's heartbeat. Music is one of the few engagements that lights up both the left and the right hemisphere of the brain simultaneously. I told you I was going to get to the brain part. Really, it is one of the few activities that lights up both hemispheres of the brain and in multiple regions and cortices of the brain. Memory. We know that music helps us recall the past. We may hear a song that brings us back to a certain place in time. We know that music can be a tool for remembering information. Think of how we learn the ABCs, right? Some of you are now singing it in your head. Admit it.
Or the Olive Bets.
Or the Olive Bet. Brain regions involved in memory encoding and retrieval light up when we are engaged with music. That's why we don't remember where we put our keys, but remember that song that was number 1 when we were 16. Motor part of the brain. We know that what happens when we hear music? We move, right? Have you ever seen a toddler that's standing right in front of a speaker? Oh, yep, I'm getting the nods, right? Did that toddler learn? Was it instructed by the parent? Okay, when you hear sound come out of this speaker, you're supposed to go Right? It just happens, right? That's innate. That is something automatically that happens in the brain when it hears music, when it hears rhythm. Just watch an 18-month-old watch a 2-year-old, right? And we start tapping our feet, moving to the music, right? Our brains are wired for it. Our prefrontal cortex. Studies have shown that learning a musical instrument, learning music vocally, helps our brain organize information. Listening to music helps our brain organize information and improve spatial awareness. This is part of the prefrontal cortex. The limbic system. What happens in the limbic system? Emotions, right? We know how music makes us feel. How does it make us feel? I don't know, pick an emotion. Sad, happy, pensive, angry, motivated, right? The limbic system of the brain, which includes the amygdala, that involves fear, pleasure, anger, anxiety, that lights up when we are engaged in music. And we also know that areas of the brain impact each other. These are not isolated parts of the brain. They have neural pathways that connect. So our emotions affect our body, affect our thinking, right? That whole body, mind, spirit connection, music integrates all of it. And we don't need an MRI brain scan to convince us of this, right? We just know it automatically because we've all experienced it. We've all experienced it. So back to music and spirituality. As I mentioned, some spiritual approaches use chant. It could be either solemn or ecstatic. Actually, the song that we did, Ata Kadosh, that was a chant, right? When you're in repetition of a song or a chant, your mind entrains, right? You kind of memorize it. And after a while, you even don't really have to think about it, right? And then the other parts of your mind can go into that altered state of consciousness. We find the solemn or the ecstatic in different spiritual places. Think of hymns in a church, right? Maybe a little bit more solemn and formal. But if you go to a gospel church, right? It's ecstatic, a lot of energy. The common thread or the common goal is really to create that altered state of consciousness. And when I say altered state of consciousness, I don't necessarily mean we have to go into a deep trance, okay? A lot of us have heard of beta, right? That's our awake state. Well, a lot of us actually live in gamma, which is above beta. Busy brain, go, go, go. How many tabs are open on my computer right now, right? So even if we can go from gamma to beta, maybe from beta to alpha. Alpha is that highly creative state. And it is a little bit more alert, meditative state. So if we can go like down a notch, from gamma to beta, beta to alpha. And maybe we can go from alpha to theta, the deeper meditative state. And delta, if you know how to pull yourself back up. Many paths believe engaging in music and changing one brainwave state makes you more open to inspiration, to insight, right? It's a dream-like state. How many have you heard of a musician that wakes up in the middle of the night and there's a song or a poem and he's got to write it down? We are receptive in that dream-like state of alpha or high theta. And in a way, that is allowing us to open up our heart, our mind, and commune with the higher vibrations that are around us. You can call it God, the divine, the infinite, right? It's like electricity has a current, has vibration. Electricity is all around us, right? We've learned to channel it into wires, but that's no good if we, as the lamp, so to speak, don't plug in, right? So engaging in music and allowing the music to change our states of consciousness allows us to plug into that current and feel its energy.